like shutting us off. Like it's like, don't talk to me. And I got the courage, and I leaned up and I was like, do you mind if we pray with you? And he was like, don't. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, okay, fine, I got this. I turned around, and me and Emily bowed our head and closed our eyes, and we prayed loud so where everyone on that subway could hear what we were saying. We weren't praying with him, but we were praying with him. So, I mean, that was just kind of like a little thing for me. And but my favorite part was probably sharing my testimony at this Laura's home that Cameron was talking about, because I had never done that before. I told people about my story, my dad and my grandpa, whatever, all long story, and it never bothered me. I could be like, oh, hey, this is Sadie. I'll tell you every part of my life. I don't care. But that afternoon when I was sitting with Michael, he was like, Sadie, do you have your story planned out? And I was like, well, yeah, I got it, And then I just started crying, and I was like, what is wrong with me? And I had Laura come talk to me, and she was like, it's just because you're feeling vulnerable, because you're sitting in front of, your classmates, your youth group that you're going to have to go back home to, and you feel, vulnerable because they're going to know every little thing about you. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's true, but, but I haven't had a problem speaking. I mean, obviously, I talked to everybody. We were walking through downtown, and I'd be like, hey, how's your day? And, some people would be like, hey, cool, how are you? And someone would look at me like I was crazy. But, that's just how I am. So when we were going through, I was sitting here bawling my eyes out, and she was like, it's just because you're vulnerable. You feel like you're about to tell your whole story. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, that's it. But I've never in my life had a problem talking about, what I'd been through, my story. And I was like, there is someone at this women's home that needs to hear this. And Michael was like, Sadie, I can get someone else to talk. And I was like, no, I'm doing this. I'm talking. I'm telling my story. This, I'm doing this. There's a reason that I'm bawling my eyes out right now. There's a reason that it's tearing me up. I've got to do this. So I went that night, and I prayed all day long. I was like, please don't let me cry in front of all these people, because I'm so emotional. And so I got there, and of course I cried anyway, but whatever. And told my story, and felt really accomplished afterward. This little kid brought up a box of tissues for me, and so that kind of helped. And it was just a really good experience, because I felt accomplished that I did get to tell that story, because it felt like it meant something, not just me telling my friends, oh, hey, well, did you know that this has happened? Did you know that this has happened? It was actually telling people, even my youth group, what, my story and how I've used it in my faith and how it's brought me to God. So I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed Cleveland, because I got to meet all these terrific people, and just it was really amazing bonding with my youth group and bonding with strangers who didn't even know there was a Nashville, Arkansas. So it was amazing, and I was truly blessed through this experience.
All right. So that is just the tip of the iceberg, believe it or not. There is so much more that went on just this summer with just these youth and just these camps. We wanted to have a slideshow this morning. My computer decided that wasn't going to happen, so I apologize for that. But the kids have said thank you a lot, but I just want to say thank you as a church, because you guys are the reason why this trip was able to happen. You guys supported the youth. You guys supported the fundraisers and all the activities that they've been doing. It's because of you these kids are able to go. I also want to thank the adults. So I'm going to have them stand up. Stephanie, Rosanna, Jason, and Lisa, and my wife, Laura. You guys stand up. Without these adults, this trip would not have happened. Laura mentioned the 21 and a half hours. Stephanie and Rosanna, troopers. They drove the entire way. We offered, but they drove. It would not have been able to make that trip happen without them. And Lisa and Jason, they drove and just helped out so much. Would not have been able to make the Arlington trip happen. One of the things we try to do when we take a group is we try to have a 1-to-5 ratio for adults to kids, and that's just so that we can keep track of everybody. You know, you're already kind of hearing from the Cleveland trip just all the different things we were involved in. We have to have adults and know kind of who's where and keep an eye on everybody. I mean, because it's your kids, and so you know you want to feel safe. You want to know that your kids are safe, and we go through great lengths to make sure that happens. But it doesn't happen without adults. It doesn't happen without people serving and having the desire to build relationships with these students. Because without building those relationships, the kids, you know, people don't understand that the church is an adopted family. The church is a family. It's a refuge for students whose families don't support their faith, students whose parents don't go to church, students who don't have parents. We become their